You know the feeling. That dull ache sitting right behind your eyes, the tight knot pulling at your shoulders after a few hours of scrolling, clicking, and typing. We are walking around with nervous systems optimized for tracking sunlight and movement across a savanna, yet we spend our days staring into glowing boxes. We are built for one environment, but trapped in a completely different one. This creates an enormous amount of cognitive load. Cognitive load is the total amount of mental effort being used in your working memory at any given time. When you navigate a typical website, your brain is forced to work overtime just to decode the sheer volume of artificial visual information. Think about the defaults we interact with daily: blinding backgrounds made of stark, pure white, artificial, piercing blues, saturated neon reds begging you to clear your notifications. These high-contrast synthetic colors force your visual cortex into overdrive. To your brain, this intensity mimics the signals of a high-alert environment, locking your nervous system into a state of chronic, low-level survival stress. The exhaustion that sets in by mid-afternoon is the physical residue of this friction, the measurable metabolic cost of a visual system struggling to process a hostile, synthetic environment. Instead of forcing the human brain to adapt to the machine, we can reverse the equation. We can build digital spaces using the exact visual cues our visual cortex is already optimized to process. This relies on a concept called biophilia. Biophilia, a hypothesis popularized by biologist E.O. Wilson, is the inherent human instinct to seek out and affiliate with life, nature, and lifelike processes. Mapping these biological principles onto a digital interface turns a designer's color palette into a calibrated system for regulating the user's nervous system. A biophilic interface is built on a specific, multi-layered color theory that goes beyond literal representations of trees or soil. It starts with earthy and mineral tones, the warm terracotta of clay, the slate gray of a mountain, or the pale chalk of limestone. These colors give the eye a resting place, providing a subconscious sense of stability and grounding. Then you have aquatic and atmospheric hues. Swapping out a flat, hyper-saturated digital blue for the hazy blue-gray of a misty river immediately evokes a feeling of fluid depth and natural transition. Even botanical colors are incredibly diverse. A natural palette avoids a single uniform green, favoring instead the deep, waxy shade of a magnolia leaf or the muted, dry sage of a desert shrub. A true biophilic palette accounts for the complex interplay of natural light and shadow. By relying on nuanced tints and shades rather than flat hex codes, you signal to the brain that the environment is authentic and safe. Psychologists point to attention restoration theory. This is the idea that exposure to natural environments, even simulated ones, replenishes our capacity for directed focus after it has been depleted. Natural color palettes actively lower cognitive load. Because these specific wavelengths of light are what our eyes evolved to see, they require far less neurological effort to process. Watch what happens to this UI. Shifting a blinding white background to a soft light beige mimics the ambient light of the physical world. To maintain readability, we drop the stark black text in favor of a softer charcoal gray. By mimicking natural light and shadow, we drastically reduce eye strain. This physically lowers cortisol levels, allowing a user to relax and naturally spend more time engaging with the screen. When a digital interface stops triggering our physical stress response, the brain's survival centers relax. This state of physiological comfort allows us to view the brand not as a source of overstimulation, but as a stable, reliable entity. In a digital marketplace flooded with exaggerated claims and flashy, high-anxiety layouts, grounded colors do the opposite of screaming for attention. They signal transparency, reliability, and durability. Take a look at how top-tier wellness apps structure their interfaces. By relying on the soft sky blues of a clear day and warm oranges of a sunrise, they subconsciously communicate clarity and optimism before you even interact with the content. Sustainable apparel companies use a similar tactic. By pulling unthreatening, muted tones straight from their physical materials, like a soft wool gray or a creamy sugarcane white, they visually prove their eco-friendly credentials instantly. The most successful digital brands move beyond the high-contrast urgency of typical tech design. They leverage the colors of the physical world to create a space that feels credible, allowing them to build a connection without visual noise. This approach also dictates the structure of the page itself. In a biophilic layout, white space acts as natural breathing room, physically separating elements to prevent visual clutter and mental overwhelm. But you still need users to take action. To do that without inducing stress, designers deploy vibrant natural accents, like a pop of berry pink or a sunny yellow. These bright, highly saturated colors are kept in reserve. They are used exclusively to highlight critical interactive moments, like a sign-up or buy now button. It perfectly mirrors evolutionary biology. Out in the wild, nature uses concentrated bursts of bright color, like a blooming flower or a ripening piece of fruit, to signal high value and attract attention against a backdrop of muted greens and browns. A cohesive biophilic layout guides the eye intuitively. It makes the digital experience feel less like operating a complex machine and more like exploring a calm, open landscape. As our daily screen time continues to climb, digital wellness is shifting from a niche design luxury into a baseline requirement. This biological necessity becomes even more critical as we move toward the near future of immersive virtual and augmented reality environments, where the risk of jarring overstimulation is incredibly high. Anchoring these spatial computing worlds in natural color palettes will be the only effective mechanism to keep users grounded, comfortable, and sane during extended periods of use. Selecting a color palette for a digital space is an act of empathy. It is an essential step in reclaiming human focus and building a balanced internet that works with our biology instead of against it.